Lesson 6, Extinction. In this lesson, we will explore the science and engineering practices of constructing explanations and designing solutions, obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information, as well as the cross-cutting concepts of patterns, cause and effect, structure and function, and stability and change. So what is extinction? Extinction occurs when there are no remaining individuals of a species still alive. Rare species have a low population size, which increases their risk of extinction. Extinction can be caused by changes in the environment that a species lives in. Can you name any examples of these types of changes to the environment? Both plants and animals can be affected by environmental changes that may lead to their extinction. Can you sort these factors into living and non-living parts? So looking at habitat destruction, is this a non-living environmental change that can cause extinction or a living environmental change that can cause extinction? A new predator, probably living. Climate change might be created by a living thing, but ultimately it is non-living. Same thing with a catastrophic event. A new competitor would be a living thing. A new disease would be a living thing. And speciation would be due to living things as well. Humans can cause extinction. We are one of the main causes of habitat destruction. Things like mining, logging, farming, and building for our homes or businesses are all linked to the loss, destruction, and pollution of habitats. The rising human population is causing all of these activities to increase to meet the growing demand for the growing population. If a species loses or becomes unable to survive in its habitat, it is at risk of extinction. Another cause of extinction by humans is overhunting and poaching. In Africa, the poaching of black rhinos led to their population size dropping by 96% from 65,000 individuals in 1970 to just 2,300 individuals in 1993. Conservation programs are trying to prevent the species from becoming extinct. Conservation programs oftentimes have habitat development and wildlife management at their forefront. The current population of black rhinos has risen to just over 5,000 individuals. However, they are still considered endangered and at risk of becoming extinct. We still need to do more to increase their numbers. Climate change is another factor that puts organisms at risk. Climate change has been linked to changing weather patterns, which can increase the risk of extinction. Changes in rainfall can affect a species' food supply. If there is a drought or flooding, a species might not have access to its usual natural resources. Climate change can also lead to habitat loss. And rising sea temperatures have increased the melting of ice caps. This has reduced the habitat for many species living in climates where ice or frozen water is important, including an example of polar bears. So adapting to change. Members of the species need to be able to cope with a change or adjust to it if a species is to survive. So how do you think this can happen? Natural selection acts on variation in species members. If an individual happens to have a trait that helps them live in their new environment, then they are more likely to survive and reproduce. And so over time, the species may evolve to adjust to that change that occurred initially in the environment. We've seen this example before. Natural selection in action with the common tree snake. It's a native of Australia, and it feeds mainly on frogs and geckos. Over the past few decades, the snake has evolved a reduced head size. It is thought this is due to the cane toad introduction in 1937. Cane toads are a pest. They are also highly toxic, and they have a large size. Predators that try to eat them must eat the entire organism. And when that occurs, it receives a huge dose of poison. Initially, the common tree snake fed upon the cane toads. They did this because they had not encountered them before and didn't know that they shouldn't. They also did not have resistance to poisons. Most snakes that fed on cane toads quickly died. This exerted a very strong selection pressure on the snake population. Selection favored any snakes that could avoid eating the cane toads. Ironically, the snakes with smaller head sizes was the selective advantage. A small head prevents them from feeding on large prey, like the cane toad. So a small head put that selective advantage to the snake, allowing the snakes to easily avoid cane toads and cane toad poisoning if they had a small head. Small-headed snakes had a greater chance of surviving to reproduce. The average head size of the population shrank as more small-headed snakes survived to pass on their genes. So over time, we saw a change in the average head size of the snakes. Environmental change. If an environmental change is too fast or too large, then members of the species will not be able to adjust to it. Why do you think it would be that organisms would not be able to adjust to a large-scale or fast environmental change? Natural selection cannot act quickly enough to give enough individuals the characteristics they need to survive and reproduce. Can you come up with any names of examples of change that might be too fast or too large for species to adapt to them? The picture on the right might be a hint. So how could climate change affect rabbit populations? Organisms are adapted to their environment. What might happen if that environment changes? In regions with a lot of snow, white rabbits have a survival advantage over brown rabbits because they're harder for predators like a lynx to spot them. This means that white rabbits are more common there. Climate change. Climate change may reduce the amount of snow in Arctic regions. So what do you think will happen when global temperatures increase? As the snow melts, the brown rabbits become better camouflaged than the white ones. This makes white rabbits more likely to be caught and eaten by lynx than the brown rabbits. If the snowy habitat is lost completely, all of the white rabbits could be killed. This would mean that the white rabbits became extinct. What do you think would happen with all of the brown rabbits? The extinction of the white rabbits would mean that the brown rabbits have less competition for food and territory. This could lead to their population increasing rapidly. Mass extinction. Over evolutionary history, there have been several mass extinction events. During a mass extinction, many species go extinct over the same relatively short period of time. Mass extinctions occur on a global scale, with extinctions taking place over a large area. They are usually caused by a single catastrophic event, such as a volcanic eruption or a comet striking Earth. The KT extinction event 65 million years ago led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. The KT extinction led to the loss of around 75% of the Earth's plant and animal species. It is thought to have been caused by an asteroid that hit Earth and led to changes in global weather patterns. Evidence suggests the asteroid caused a prolonged period of cold weather, while dust and ash emitted into the atmosphere by the impact reduced the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth, affecting photosynthesis, and thereby changing many populations of organisms.